What if, what if the only reason you are suffering right now is simply because you assume you're supposed to be happy?
Yeah, that is well, it's a pretty heavy question to start with.
It really is. I mean, it sounds entirely counterintuitive, right? But today's deep dive is actually built around a text that opens with this really brutal, unflinching premise.
Oh, it does not pull any punches.
No, it doesn't. It essentially says that this world is originally painful, with absolutely no exceptions. And if you're listening to this right now, we are so glad you're here because we are diving into a fascinating, translated, anonymous collection. It's known as the 181 Items of Buddhist Practice.
Right, and you shared this source material with us because you really wanted a shortcut, like a way to get to mental clarity without getting just completely bogged down in all the dogma.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, nobody has time to read a 1,000-page philosophical treatise on a Tuesday.
No, definitely not. And what makes this text so compelling, so highly functional, is that it just skips the gentle platitudes entirely.
It really does. It's not trying to coddle you.
Exactly. It operates less like a typical spiritual text and much more like this ruthless psychological schematic for the human mind. It basically bridges these lofty spiritual concepts with brutal practical truths about human nature. It demands that we look at the raw mechanics of why we are so, routinely miserable.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because looking at a list of 181 philosophical maxims, I mean, it feels like an information overload
I
avalanche.
for sure. It's a lot to take in.
Right. You read 10 of them, your eyes glaze over, and you retain absolutely nothing. So the mission for this deep dive is to distill these 181 nuggets of wisdom into a highly applicable shortcut guide. We want to help you master your mind and avoid daily misery.
I love that. And the text doesn't waste any time.
No, jump straight in. I mean, right at the start, item 1 says pain comes from pursuing the wrong things. And then item 29 hits you with this world is originally painful, with no exceptions.
Yeah, it goes straight to the architecture of our suffering. And the mechanism here is it's essentially an expectation mismatch.
How so? Like, what kind of mismatch?
Well, assuming you already understand the baseline concept of impermanence,
Yeah.
the idea that literally nothing stays the same, the text takes it a step further. It isolates the exact friction point.
Which is what?
It's our rigid demand for permanence in a totally fluid environment.
Ah, right. So we want things to stay exactly how they are.
Exactly. We lock onto a specific dynamic, like a relationship or our youth or a certain level of career status, or, even just the expectation that our morning commute will be easy today.
Right, right.
And when reality naturally shifts, as it always does, the resulting friction generates psychological pain.
It's like trying to build a heavy, rigid brick mansion directly on top of a tectonic fault line.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Right. You don't get angry at the tectonic plates for moving. I mean, they are just doing what the Earth does.
Mm.
The destruction of the house and, the suffering that follows, it comes entirely from your insistence on building a rigid structure on moving ground.
Right. Yes.
And the text seems to suggest that we should use the world, but stop trying to own it.
Mm.
Which brings us to item 177, right?
Yeah, that framing perfectly captures item 177. It states that the world doesn't belong to you, so you don't need to abandon the world. You just need to abandon your attachments to it.
Abandon the attachments.
Right.
Right. If you build a lightweight, flexible structure on that fault line, the Earth still moves, but your house doesn't collapse.
You feel the shake, but you don't lose the house.
Exactly.
Hmm.
The physical sensation of the earthquake remains, but the secondary suffering, like the loss of your rigid attachments, is completely eliminated.
It's like gripping a hot piece of coal and being angry at the coal for burning you. You just have to let it go. But wait, I have to push back here for a second.
Go for it. Isn't it just human nature to be upset when people mistreat us? Like, if someone actively defrauds me or mistreats me maliciously, saying, I'm only suffering because my own mind can't let it go, feels like it kind of absolves the person who wronged me.
I can see why it feels that way.
Yeah, I mean, it borders on victim blaming. Are we just supposed to pretend it doesn't hurt? Doesn't that framework just let toxic people off the hook entirely?
Well, it feels that way if you treat this philosophy as an external justice system, but it's not.
Okay. What is it then?
It is an internal survival manual. The text isn't interested in the moral ledger of the person who defrauded you. It is interested in stopping your psychological bleeding.
Stopping the bleeding. I like that.
Right. And to address that directly, item 3 says, if you don't give yourself trouble, others can never give you trouble.
Wow, never give you trouble.
Never. Because the text constantly shifts the locus of control back to the individual. The initial event, the fraud, that's the physical blow. You lose money. That is an objective reality.
Right, the money is gone.
But the subsequent suffering, the months of anger, the sleepless nights, the erosion of your trust in humanity, that is the mental loop you are choosing to play on repeat. You suffer because you can't let it go within your own mind.
So it strips away your ability to outsource your emotional state to the person who wronged you.
Exactly. It forces you to reclaim absolute jurisdiction over your own neurochemistry.
Man, that is empowering, but also really confronting. So building on that idea that our internal response is the only thing we actually control, the text takes a really aggressive stance on judging others.
Very aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, item 24 has this striking imagery. It says that people with heavy karmic obstacles spend all day looking at other people's faults, but true practitioners never do.
Never do. Right.
And then item 55 backs it up, basically saying every ounce of attention spent on others is one less ounce spent reflecting on yourself.
What's fascinating here is how the text frames judgment. It doesn't frame it as a moral failing, but as an operational hazard.
An operational hazard.
Yeah. Human attention is a zero-sum game. Every ounce of cognitive bandwidth you allocate to analyzing someone else's flaws is bandwidth diverted away from your own self-reflection.
Right. You only have so much processing power.
Exactly. And we habitually judge others because it provides a very cheap, immediate dopamine hit of superiority. It feels productive to point out why someone else is wrong.
It feels great in the moment, honestly.
It does, but the text warns, specifically in item 22, that this outward gaze actually pollutes your own mind.
It pollutes it. It's like renting out space in your brain to people you dislike, totally rent-free, or running a massive high-intensity background diagnostic on someone else's completely broken hard drive.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
It's eating up all your CPU, it's slowing down all of your own processing power, your fan is overheating, and for what? You don't even have the administrative privileges to fix their drive.
No, you don't. You're just degrading your own hardware for the sake of cataloging their errors.
Which is just crazy when you think about it.
It is, and that hardware degradation is exactly why the text completely reframes the concept of forgiveness.
Right, because usually we think of forgiveness as this very holy, selfless thing.
Right, a sacrifice. We offer it to be benevolent or to take the moral high ground, but this text treats forgiveness as a purely pragmatic, honestly selfish act for one's own peace.
Selfish in a good way.
Yes. Item 82 says, forgiving others is about leaving space in your own heart to maneuver. If you are harboring resentment, you have backed your own psychology into a rigid, dark corner. Forgiving the other person is simply the act of deleting that useless background diagnostic so your own system can run smoothly again.
The pragmatism of that is just incredible.
Yeah.
And it's captured perfectly in item 41, which I have to bring up because it is so funny and so true.
The mad dog analogy.
Yes. The mad dog, it poses this question. If a mad dog bites you, are you going to get down on all fours and bite it back?
The absurdity of the image is the entire point.
Right. I mean, obviously not. You'd never bite a dog back.
No, because when a dog bites you, you recognize that it is acting out of its nature or its conditioning, or maybe it has rabies. You seek medical attention. You distance yourself from the dog, but you don't feel a burning need to seek moral vengeance against the animal.
But when a human being does it, when they insult us or they're toxic at work, our ego demands symmetry. We immediately get down in the dirt to bite the dog.
We do. We retaliate. We gossip.
We abandon our own peace just to prove we can bite back.
Which is exactly why the text asks for asymmetrical conflict resolution. The ego demands that we return fire to show strength. But returning fire is actually a sign of weakness. It proves that the other person's chaos has successfully breached your internal defenses.
Okay, so since we are trying not to bite the mad dogs in our lives, how do we actually handle conflict when it inevitably happens? Because, life is full of difficult people.
Unfortunately, yes.
The text flips the concept of enemies and critics completely upside down. According to item 90, people who just praise us are useless.
Completely useless.
Right. It says the people who criticize and instruct us are true good teachers.
And that requires a massive paradigm shift. To actually utilize these good teachers, the text dives deep into a radical definition of patience, specifically in item 175.
Yeah, how does it define patience? because it's not the normal definition.
Not at all. Most people think patience is, biting your tongue when a powerful boss yells at you because you need the paycheck, or staying quiet when someone physically intimidating cuts you in line.
Right, that's just grinning and bearing it.
The text argues that isn't true patience at all. That's just survival instinct born of powerlessness.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. True patience is having the absolute power to easily crush someone who has wronged you, someone weaker than you, but choosing to tolerate them instead. It's recognizing they are just confused or a product of a bad environment and absorbing that energy without retaliating.
But isn't this just letting people walk all over you? Like, I'm imagining a martial arts master letting a toddler punch their leg without getting angry.
That's actually a great image.
Right. But if the toddler is an adult coworker, does that philosophy just turn you into a doormat?
What's fascinating here is that it's not about passive tolerance or enabling abuse. It's an internal state of non-reactivity, like the martial arts master. You recognize the toddler is no threat to you.
Right.
You can set a boundary. You can remove a toxic person from your life without ever generating the internal heat of anger, because you recognize their hostility is just their own deep suffering. And to really bring this home, to connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at item 176.
Okay, what does 176 say?
It introduces a mechanism to permanently achieve that detachment. It asks us to look across countless lifetimes.
Endlessly.
Rebirths, basically.
Yeah. Yes. It posits that over these infinite stretches of time, every single person you interact with has, at some point, been your fiercely loving parent, your loyal sibling, and your most bitter enemy.
Wow.
Everyone has been smart, and everyone has been foolish. Recognizing this dissolves the boundary between friend and enemy, making true equality and tolerance possible. Okay, I understand the philosophical weight of that vast, infinite rebirth concept.
Yeah.
But for someone listening to this deep dive right now, sitting in miserable gridlock traffic on a Tuesday afternoon, how do they practically apply a multi-lifetime concept?
That is the real test, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, bringing these vast concepts down to earth, because if you don't literally believe in metaphysical reincarnation, does this just become useless poetry?
Not at all. The mechanism here isn't reliant on metaphysical belief. It is a psychological tool designed to expand your temporal timeline.
To shrink the immediate threat to your ego.
Exactly. When someone cuts you off in traffic, your ego isolates that single 10-second interaction and defines that human being entirely by their worst moment. By forcing your brain to imagine that the same person could have nurtured you, you shatter the illusion of separation.
So it's an empathy hack.
Yes. You're tricking your brain out of its tribal us versus them programming.
I love that. And bringing it down to earth is exactly what I want to do next. Let's look at some pragmatic hacks for Tuesday afternoon.
Let's do it.
Because the text offers some highly tactical, everyday gems. One of my favorites is item 135. It's a daily mental hack. It advises that if you repeat the phrase, "I don't need to worry about this little thing," 21 times, you will unlock a magical inner strength.
It sounds a bit like a shallow self-help affirmation on the surface.
It really does. Like, just say it 21 times.
Yes.
But there's actual science to it, right?
Yes. Neurologically, it functions as a highly effective pattern interrupt. When a stressor hits an angry email, a missed flight, your amygdala fires a threat response. It floods your system with cortisol.
Right, the fight or flight panic.
But by forcing yourself to verbally articulate the phrase, "this little thing," 21 consecutive times, you are actively engaging your prefrontal cortex. You are forcing the logical part of your brain to recategorize the threat from existential crisis down to minor inconvenience.
So the repetition literally chemically shrinks the panic response. That is so practical. Another one I love is item 73. It's the simplest lie detector test. It states that to truly understand someone, just see if their starting point and their destination are the same.
It's a behavioral tracking algorithm.
Yes. We are so often seduced by the starting point, the words someone uses, the promises they make.
But the text warns us to track the destination, the ultimate trajectory of their actions over time. If a colleague's starting point is, "I want to help the team succeed," but the destination consistently results in them taking all the credit, the discrepancy reveals their true nature.
It's such an emotionless filter for navigating relationships. Just brilliant. And finally, I have to bring up item 155. It's my absolute favorite.
The cooking one.
Yes. I can cook for you, but I can't eat for you.
It perfectly defines the limit of external influence.
It really does. I always compare it to going to the gym. Like, I could drive you to the gym, I could pay for your membership, I can stand next to the bench press and cheer for you, but I cannot do the push-ups for you.
No, you can't.
You have to physically tear your own muscle fibers to build strength. And everyone is ultimately responsible for their own life and their own enlightenment.
And, as we tie all these practical tips together, it's really important to remember the ultimate goal of the text.
Right, which isn't to just become a humorless monk.
Exactly. Item 70 explicitly advises us to tell more jokes and use a humorous attitude to make life easier.
Thank goodness.
Right. And item 113 states that learning Buddhism, or really this entire philosophy, is really just learning how to be a decent human being.
Just learning to be a decent human being. I mean, that is the perfect anchor to summarize what we've explored today for you guys listening.
Absolutely.
We looked at the structural permanence of our attachments. Pain isn't the earthquake, it's the rigid house we refuse to let go of. We talked about shutting down the background diagnostics on other people's broken hard drives, because judging others only poisons yourself. We embraced the idea that true power is showing patience to those weaker than you. And finally, you can't eat anyone else's food, or live their life, or do their push-ups for them.
And I just want to say, if you are listening to this, engaging with these concepts requires a willingness to dismantle your own ego, which is inherently uncomfortable. But just by taking the time to confront these truths with us today, you are already doing the vital heavy lifting of self-reflection.
You really are. Which leaves us with a provocative final thought for you to chew on as you step back into your day.
Oh, this is a good one.
If, as this ancient text says, our deepest suffering comes from attachment and constantly looking at the faults of others, what does that mean for us today? We are living in an era where social media algorithms are scientifically engineered to exploit our attachments and feed us the daily faults of total strangers.
It's basically an engine for everything the text warns against.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So are we building the ultimate digital karmic obstacle every time we scroll? Or if we apply the structural engineer's mindset we talked about, is the modern internet actually the ultimate high-intensity training ground for mastering our patience? It's definitely something to think about.
But it really is.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep diving deep, and we'll catch you next time.